Material that you've written for publication or for other people to read. We're talking about stuff for other people to read. Yeah, yeah. So many people have written stuff based on personal experience. Yeah, yeah. So, how did you handle the details, the factual information? How did you deal with that?
Personal anecdotes.
So you told
Stories.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the ways we do that is writing anecdotes. And anecdotes are like little mini stories. I was talking about that couple that just, or the group of friends who just came back from taking a holiday somewhere. Let's say there's one person that tells it like this. So, okay, so we got off the plane and it landed in Corfu, and then we went to the hotel, and we were there for a couple of weeks. And it was a really nice place, and we went swimming, and food was good, and it was a really great time. End of story. The other extreme is somebody, so do we want that person to sit down and entertain us through the entire dinner? Not so much. Another kind of storyteller is somebody who goes into infinite detail. Anybody been around that kind of storyteller? Where it's like you have actually forgotten what the story's about because they're just spinning off into all kinds of details, and you've lost the string of the story completely. Anybody know that one? Yeah, and you're just praying that they'll just come back to the story somehow. Oh yeah, and then off they go on another tangent. So somewhere in the middle is the balance between those two things, definitely. Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay. No? Okay. So let's talk about some of the components of a well-crafted piece. Everybody got their handouts? So another very common term or phrase in the writing world is the real genius is in the rewrite. Yeah, everybody heard that one? So, or another form of that is writing is rewriting. How many times do you think you've written? So think of something that you've had in print somewhere, in some form. Think of how many times you had to rewrite that. Yeah, a few, huh?
Yeah. I just went through an experience where I didn't have to rewrite, but had to edit 5, 6 times.
Oh yeah, and I call any form of revision rewriting, because you are revising and rewriting things. When I was working with the editor that was assigned to me at Heritage House, who is the publishing house that published my book 2 years ago, people said, oh my gosh, they're just going to love you because you're a professional editor. They won't even need an editor for you. You'll just give them something that's perfect. They'll just save so much money, Sylvia, because your writing will be perfect. Yeah. So anybody want to guess how many times I had to rewrite that blankety-blank manuscript? Oh.
7.
You got it.
I know, I've heard you say that before, but not as bad as Daniel Levington,
Yeah.
who wrote his most recent book about the brain. He was at the Writers' Fest, and because of all the changes as he was writing and all this, 52 times.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Everybody like, oh.
That is a tremendous commitment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the bottom line is this: what we all want, and by we would be the readers, you, your writing group, anybody who's editing your work, anybody who comes in contact with that piece of story. What we all want is the best possible story, right? In its best possible form to really, really shine. So in those times where you just want to just absolutely strangle the person who's just handed back your piece of writing, whoever that person is, hold back, because that is as a very valuable person in your life. How many people here are in writing groups or have other people to give you feedback and critique? 2? That's 3? That's it? Nobody else in a writing group? Anybody else have anyone that they can bounce their writing off of and get feedback? No? That's it? Okay, so tell me how important having critique and feedback is.
Because it shows you how someone else sees, like it brings it back to you.
Yep, absolutely. Because when we talk about that million-word rule, yes, it's important to write the million words, but it's just as important for somebody else, and hopefully several somebodies, to see at least some of those million words and give you some feedback about it. Yeah. How many people here have children or have had children in their lives, either your own children or nieces and nephews, children that are very dear to you, or when you don't want to kill them? Yeah, how many people? Yeah? Great. So, how was it when you are angry at them and you are disciplining them in some way? That's okay, right? That's all part of the process of helping them into maturity. How about when somebody else did it?
Not their place.
Don't you dare. That's my kid.
Yeah, okay. So for a lot of people, the process is very, very similar. And they are very reluctant to have other people give us feedback about our writing. And that is what's called, in the writing world, a motherhood issue. Meaning that you have identified so strongly with your writing, even though it comes from you, and from often a very integral part of you, to have feedback that you can consider and receive graciously and use to the best advantage is an absolute critical skill. It's just as important as any other writing skill that you can develop in your writing career. Absolutely. So how, in your writing group, how is critique a part of that process? Yes. And how do you do that? Is it written feedback or verbal?
Usually it's a draft, and then people write, and then you meet with them and talk. Well, I think it's good to have a lot of people, because people all bring their own backgrounds, and so you'll see maybe 3 people say one thing and 5 say the opposite.
Yeah.
It's not, don't ever go by what one person says either.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if nothing else, it certainly starts to help you build a little slightly thicker skin for the future when your writing is out there and being viewed and read by the public. Absolutely. Okay, so let's go to the handout and look just quickly over some of the points about a well-crafted piece, because we're always thinking, what is it that makes good writing? What is it that makes a piece good? And one thing I'd like to do here is, you mentioned about half an hour ago, we were going to talk about word counts. Okay, so the average adult novel, anyone throw it out there? Average American is a little bit bigger word count. And typically, just as an aside, when you're discussing your manuscript or your content with people, rather than going by the pages, refer to it by the word count. Because people won't know if it's single space, double space, triple space, using a 16 font, 10 font. So using pages isn't as accurate as a word count. So if somebody approaches me and say, I have a 280-page manuscript that I'm interested in you working with. What I want more is the word count, because that might translate into 60,000 words. It could translate into 85,000 words, and that's going to make a big difference. So go for the word count, and everybody know how you get that on your computer in the lower left corner? Yep, good. Okay, so word counts for an adult novel is typically around, in Canada, around 80-ish. We're going to say 80K. That's an average. American tends to be a little bit bigger by about 10,000 words or so. Okay, and then what's the next one down?
Youth?
Sorry?
The novella?
Size-wise?
Yeah.
Novella?
Novella. Okay, so novella, just so you know, because sometimes it's important to, that we're all talking about the same kind of terminology here. So a novella meaning a smaller novel. So it's also fiction as well. So a novella usually comes in around 40-ish, 40 to 50K. Yeah. I put this 80 to 90. That's getting big for Canadian. This is typical. The trend is to shorter word counts too, in general with publishing houses. Okay, so how about next one down size-wise would be, anybody want to go out there? Young adult?
Young adults, that's what I said.